Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Safari Mack Explores North America. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still in the great state of California, but today we are in Northern California. Welcome to San Francisco, home of the iconic Bay Bridge, Muir Woods National Monument, Alcatraz Island, and today we're going to be hanging out at another popular tourist attraction, Pier 39, where we're going to meet some of their residents, more specifically, the California sea lion, or known by its Latin name, Xalophus californianus. Now, these guys may appear cute, but don't be fooled, because these guys have a very fierce nature, as well as extreme intelligence, hiding somewhere within the crowd. But now, as always, before we begin, hit that like and subscribe button, check out my Facebook page for conservation tips and projects to do at home. And finally, if you have a question about animals, or if there's an animal that you want me to do in the future, just send me an email, which you'll find the link to down in the description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's begin. In terms of their family and evolution, it may actually come as a bit of a complete shock to you. Believe it or not, they actually have a land-based cousin, bears. Can you believe that? Don't? No? I can understand how. And let me explain. It's all basically to do with evolution. A very ancient common ancestor, millions of years ago, that once lived in the trees, acclimated themselves to land, and as well, over time, they would evolve to be at home in the water. Now, so as you can see, these guys were the catalyst that would spark all these different animals. But of course, as nature changed, they would follow their different evolutionary paths. Some took to different habitats, some took to different lifestyles. It all happens. That's why it's called nature. Now, the first true seals and sea lion ancestor wouldn't appear on Earth until 35 million to 30 million years ago. Now, before we continue, I just want to explain something important between the difference between seals and sea lions. See, seals have an ear hole, no flap, and they cannot use their back flippers to walk on land like sea lions can. They have to use their bellies to crawl across the beach or wherever they are trying to get out to either rest or to escape predation. Sea lions, however, they have an ear flap, and they are able to use both their front and back flippers to be able to walk on land effectively. And another thing, seals have like a bit of a grunt, while sea lions have a big, loud bark. Now, today the world recognizes 6 different species of sea lions, but we're just going to focus on those living in California. Or are they just limited to California? Let's talk about their habitat, lifestyle, and family. So, from southeastern Alaska all the way down to Central America, these guys are found all along the Pacific coastal line. Now, these guys naturally would prefer to live all their lives out at sea, but they have to come on land for 3 reasons. 1, to either rest during migration, 2, to breed, or 3, to molt their skin. Now, it's not just these rocky shores. They can also live around tidal pools and hang out on different places like piers, jetties, and of course the iconic crawling out of a buoy and taking a bit of a rest, or really trying to escape predation from 2 predators, great white sharks and orcas. Now, let's talk about their breeding. Now, this is how it goes. First of all, I forgot to mention, in terms of social life, they are very social. Sometimes they live in these groups that can contain over 1,500 animals. Can you imagine having to share a bathroom with these guys? So, in case we didn't know, this is the male. That's the female. Talk about scary. Now, this is how it goes. When it comes time to breed, males are the first to arrive on the beaches so that they can stake out a claim, in a way, stake out a piece of real estate. So what would be the best spot to attract the females. So they have to eat well. They have to eat a lot of food because once they crawl into land, they do not want to give up their space so easily. Because the moment that they leave to go to sea, another male can extend his piece of property and attract even more females. So by eating enough, he will have accumulated so much fat that he'll turn into blubber, which he can feed off of until the breeding season is over. So from May to August, breeding takes place. But here's what happens. Once the females arrive, they kind of gather together and they hang out. They choose the male that they're going to go with, but they're first going to they're going to give birth to the pups that they had 1 year before, that they had the previous breeding season, as their gestation period is around 11 months. So she gives birth a few weeks later, and then after feeding her babe, after rearing her offspring, a few weeks later, 4 weeks later, the females become ready to breed again. And so the male will breed with as many females as possible, but not many will ever get to fully secure their bloodlines because males are constantly engaging in fights. And I can tell you right now, it gets ugly. They fight dirty, they will go for the eyes, they bite each other, they will do whatever it takes to secure their bloodline. The bigger the male, the louder the roar or the barks and the fierceness of their fight, more likely he is to win. So once that's done, though, he begins to breed, but maybe not all of them will be able to successfully rear their offspring, as predation occurs. So, and not leaving to go to sea to feed, he's losing a lot more. He's losing a lot of body weight. So by the end of the season, he is just about spent. By then, it's time for the males to leave and go up to the Washington State area and other spots to go fishing. Speaking of fishing, let's see what's for dinner. Their diet and their hunting skills. Sardines, anchovies, squid, octopus, and crustaceans are a popular choice for sea lions, but they are pretty opportunistic. They'll eat as much as whatever they can get. Here's now up in the Washington area, sea lions have been observed catching salmon and steelhead trout. And they do consume a large amount. In fact, here's an idea of how much they would eat. So California sea lions eat around 5 to 8% of their body weight every day just to maintain their bulk. So for a male that's around, with 5 to 8% of his body weight, he's eating around 40 pounds of food a day. Can you imagine yourself shoving that much food into your body? And they have to, because the females need to be able to produce enough, need to eat enough to produce enough milk for their offspring. Which, by the way, in the next episode, I'll explain how they go from this small, cute little baggy boy or baby to this big baby. Finally, we're going to end today's episode with their influence in human culture. But we're not going to talk about ancient ways. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about the story about Pier 39. How exactly did this happen? So back in sea lions have been occupying Pier 39 since 1989. In fact, the very first sea lion that occupied the space was called Flea Collar, and he would arrive after boats were removed from the area as they were actually getting ready to remodel the pier area. But, however, the locals began to enjoy seeing the sea lion, and over the years, up until today, they've become a bit of a really popular attraction, as the deal is they're actually just coming up to rest on their migration, as they are also following big schools of anchovies and sardines. So today, in the last 15 years, more than 1,000 sea lions have gathered at this one special spot. And it's important because this is what drives San Francisco's local economy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to join me next week for part 2. But until then, this is Safari Mack, and I'll see you all out there.